This is my third and probably final Core Ultra 285H in a mini PC form factor. The miniest of mini PCs, the M1 Pro from Minisforum. Literally, it's the smallest Core Ultra 285H mini PC that there has, that I've looked at. It has built-in microphones, DDR5 SODIMM, so it is upgradable. It has HDMI, USB 4, Wi-Fi 7. Let's unpack this, take a look, run the benchmarks, and then I can share with you what my evil plan is. Why is he getting all these Intel mini PCs? Oh, yes, yes. On the one hand, the Core Ultra 9, as I have said in other videos, you should check those out, because if you're doing comparison shopping, you've got a little bit of homework to do, right? This is 6 cores, 6 performance cores, and then you've got 8 efficiency cores, and then you've got 2 more efficiency cores that are just for slow and sleep time. Because this is a mobile processor in a small form factor desktop machine. This particular configuration has 32 gigs of memory and 1 terabyte of storage. That's about where I'd aim if I were procuring one of these. These have been popular in our forum and among business customers. This is an Oculink and M.2 to Oculink adapter. I've already had this out and been doing benchmarks, that sort of thing. In the box, you get the mini PC, an external power brick, 120 watt power brick, 19 volt, and you get an HDMI cord. Standard length, not a short one. It does have the 2 screw holes for doing the VESA mount bracket. There's also an included VESA mount thing that is normally in the box. At the front, we have 2 SuperSpeed Type A, USB 4, and a combo headphone microphone port. There's also 2 built-in microphones. It's got a stereo built-in microphone. At the rear, we've got another USB 4 HDMI display port, a 2.5 gig LAN, a power input, and a Type A USB 2 port. And then we've also got a rubber connection on our Oculink port. Now, there's nothing in there. That's what this is. You basically have a choice. Do you want 2 internal M.2, or do you want 1 internal M.2 and an Oculink connector? So you can pick. And it's got a little rubber thing there to make it easier. The M.2 Oculink adapter does not have any internal redrivers or retimers. That might be a consideration if you're looking at an external dock or an external configuration. I'm looking at something else. We'll talk about that in a minute. But ships with Windows, runs Linux great as well. If you find that it doesn't have enough ports for your taste, if you want more ports, then might I suggest the Minisforum TB01 or TB4-01. This is Minisforum Thunderbolt dock. So it's got built-in 2.5 gig LAN, an SD card slot reader, and a bunch more USB ports, display port, and HDMI. You can use this in conjunction with that and get a ton more ports. Or just use a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. Whatever. This can also do power delivery for a laptop up to 85 watts. So there's that. Now, other features is easy serviceability, just 4 Phillips screws on the bottom, and that'll let you get at the 2280 M.2 and optional 2280 or M.2 Oculink adapter. It's got its own separate fan in there. Breathes pretty well. There's a Kensington lock port at the side. It's a Kingston OEM 1 terabyte M.2. It has great performance. It's the OM8 TAP family. It's about 6 gigabytes per second sustained read, about 639 microseconds latency. And the specific memory that's shipped with ours is ADATA. It's very nice to see. It's DDR5 5600. Now, let's talk about benchmarks and how this stacks up in our other benchmark configurations. About 700,000 IOPS on the Crystal Disk Mark preset. Not bad. Not a bad build out for this. This is definitely something that is meant to be an appliance. Our expectation is for productivity, it's going to be pretty good. And for gaming, yeah, I mean, it's got ARC graphics. It's the ARC 140T GPU, so it's not an end-of-life GPU or anything like that. The i9-15, well, it's going into maintenance mode, let's say, but it's not also a gaming GPU. Like, as far as mini PCs go, AMD definitely has the advantage in mini PCs for gaming. And especially if you move into something that's like, Strix Halo. Minisforum has the MSA1 and the other mini PCs that are based around Strix Halo. That's a significantly better GPU. But a lot of the AI people are buying that up. So, this is quite a bit less cost-wise. And it's upgradable memory. This will run 128 gigs just fine. Our out-of-the-box memory configuration is a not remarkable 143 nanoseconds. But we are getting 77 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth. So the bandwidth's pretty good. It's just the latency could be a little bit better. That's just down to timing on the memory and the platform and some other things. You still have those 6 performance cores. So, you know, in things like Geekbench, it does pretty well. Almost as well as the desktop Core Ultra 285. Really, the only thing you lose out on versus the Core Ultra desktop is that a full desktop CPU has a little higher clock speed, and you get 2 more performance cores. So yeah, it's going to run better. With Oculink, you can run an external GPU, but it's going to be PCI Express 4.0 by 4 lanes. So, you know, maximum like a 9060 XT or a 5060, 5070, something in that ballpark. 16 gigs of memory is going to be better than 8 on your GPU. It's doable, but this is designed to be mounted behind a monitor. That's why it's small, and that's why it doesn't have a ton of ports, and that's why it's relatively power sippy at 120 watts. Okay, so what's the deal with the accumulation of Intel mini PCs? Oculink. I want to build, so Broadcom has this chipset that does PCIe switching. And it's usually used like 16 or 32 or 64 PCIe lanes at a time. But I'm wondering, is there enough documentation out there for an FPGA that does PCI Express switching? In order to test that, I'm going to need to connect a bunch of devices that have at least some built-in redriving and retiming capability. I don't know about this platform for that part of it, but I want to connect via PCIe lanes a whole bunch of mini PCs and build a little cluster. But I'm using direct PCIe fabric in order to do that, probably through the Broadcom chipset, maybe through the FPGA. If you're thinking, that sounds insane, you should check out Liquid. I've got a PCIe Gen 4 Liquid fabric in the basement, and that's connecting 16 lanes, and that's really nice. I can set up those cards in this via an Oculink to PCIe adapter, and that's going through the Broadcom chipset, and there's special Broadcom firmware involved in that, and like Liquid has a whole thing around being able to do that, and that's awesome. But I'm wondering if I could do it at a much smaller scale with some DIY options. So I've got a helper in the background that knows PCIe and is working on PCIe switching and everything else, and from that might fall out a whole bunch of interesting technology. But now I have procured 3 Intel-based platforms in order to be able to do this. Why the Intel platform and not the AMD platform? It has to do a little bit with the documentation and a little bit with a keyhole that Intel left in their platform to be able to reprogram like the PCIe root bridges. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. This is going to be a longer term project, but you know, mini PCs toward interconnectedness, not via Thunderbolt. Yeah, I mean, Thunderbolt is like, 40 gigabit. If we can get this running, this is more like 400 gigabit. Well, not really, but 4 lanes and then 8. 8 gigabytes a second, give or take. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. That'll be a lot of fun. But if you're just looking for a mini PC, none of that really matters to you. Thermals is good. Noise is dead silent, except when you're doing torture tests. We're idling at about 23 watts, give or take. Yeah, we're dipping down to around 12, 15 watts. Windows must be doing something in the background. So our 8/64 stress test, we're staying well under 100 degrees C, somewhere in that 70 to 80 degrees C range. And our noise really doesn't go much past 32 dB. I'd say nominal is more like 27, 28. So it's very quiet. There is a lot of heat coming out the back. Like I'm putting my hand here and it's like, oh yeah, you can definitely feel the heat coming out the back. It breathes from the bottom and the sides. So it's an effective cooling solution, given that it's dissipating about 97 watts of power right now.
Here's our 8/64 results. The latency 150 nanoseconds is a little worrying, but remember this is upgradable, and our bandwidth is 77 gigabytes per second. Not bad. Our CPU benchmarks, Blender, obviously, testing this across all of our 3 other Core Ultra Mini PCs, and the performance here is pretty consistent. Minisforum is fairly regularly on top, which is impressive, as quiet as this platform is. It definitely seems like Minisforum is focusing on CPU performance more than GPU performance. Their Cinebench R23 multi-core score. Now the the Asus Z890 is included, but remember that it's a full desktop processor, so you've got 2 more performance cores. It's a different performance class. It's a different cost class. It's a different league in terms of the size of the thing. But our CPU performance is coming out on top with the Minisforum M1. It's pulling marginally ahead. Single core speed on all three of these is very similar, but again, the Minisforum pulls just a little bit ahead. Cinebench 24, it's largely the same story. Their single core speed, the Minisforum pulls a little ahead. But also pay attention here, the Z890 desktop CPU, even though it's got the advantage of many, many more watts on a desktop configuration, for the single core performance is really not a lot different. Now, multi-core, on the other hand, yeah, the Z890 is going to pull way ahead because it's got basically an unlimited power budget. CPU-Z tells pretty much the same single-thread performance. Switch over to Geekbench, and we look at Geekbench multi-core. All three of these mini PCs turn in a perfectly respectable multi-core score. Our single-core performance here, this does actually show that Geekbench can be useful. The single-core performance is a little bit less on the mini PCs than our desktop PC, but these are still pretty similar scores, just around 3,000. Our Geekbench GPU scores for both OpenCL and Vulkan are similar performance. Puget Bench for After Effects. Now again, the Minisforum, they put all the wattage and optimization into the CPU side of things, and so it makes sense that it would pull ahead on the Photoshop side of things, because the Photoshop effects here are not really relying as much on the compute that's available in the GPU part of the CPU. It's using the CPU part of the CPU. And Premiere Pro, it's basically identical performance across all three of our configurations. I think the Minisforum might be a little bit of a disadvantage because it's only got 32 gigs of DDR5, but it's basically identical performance. I did want to at least test Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 1080p. Is it playable? And the answer is not really. I wouldn't recommend it. You could probably do like 720p at like medium low. So there you have it. If you need a productivity mini PC, you're really not giving up a lot versus a full-size desktop Core Ultra 285. I mean, expandability and some other things, but it's just like, I need a machine to compute. I want to bolt it behind the monitor. And I don't want to think about it. And a Core Ultra, mini PCs can get it done. There's not really an upgradable GPU unless you use that Oculink interface. But I want to build a cluster out of these that has a full PCIe interconnect from 3 nodes using more than 4 lanes. But for a business class mini PC, there's a lot to like. I wish the Minisforum had added more onboard USB ports. That would have been nice. But you can also use Thunderbolt for your Thunderbolt expansion, and that gives you some more options. Now for my uses, I want to see if I can get this thing connected with 8 lanes to 2 other Core Ultra mini PCs, and see if I can build a little cluster that is connected directly over PCIe. I might be able to do that with an FPGA because of some stuff that just became available, but we'll see. That's going to be a 2026 project for sure. But I'm Wendell, Level 1. That's been a quick look at the Minisforum M1 Pro 285H, and now I'm going to do something unholy and connect this to more things. So we'll see. Fun Christmas vacation project. All right, I'm Wendell, Level 1. If you have any questions or I missed anything, I'm signing out, and I'll see you in the Level 1 forums.